Episode 12. Awakening the Forge. The great bronze doors slammed shut, the final Thum echoing through the vast chamber, sealing them within the forge of the ancients. For a moment, the survivors stood in stunned silence, dwarfed by the scale and antiquity surrounding them. Giant, cold anvils stood like monolithic altars, runes etched upon their surfaces glowing with a faint internal light. Ranks upon ranks of dormant dwarfed automatons, crafted from rune-inscribed stone and dark metal, stood silent vigil along the walls, weapons integrated into their powerful forms. High vaulted ceilings soared into darkness, supported by pillars carved with images of dwarven smiths and warriors of legend. Dominating the center of the chamber, a colossal crystal, easily 3 times Grok's height, pulsed with a soft, steady white light. The Heartstone of the forge. The air hummed with latent power, clean and warm, a stark sanctuary from the chaos they had fled. But the reprieve was shattered by a muffled, rhythmic boom, 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 vibrating through the floor. Their pursuers were already pounding on the outer doors. Kaelen pushed down his awe, his commander's instincts taking over. Check the perimeter, secure the wounded. We need to know what we're dealing with in here. While Brok oversaw the few remaining dwarves tending to injuries and establishing a watchful perimeter near the doors, the companions cautiously began to explore. Borin found himself irresistibly drawn towards the pulsing Heartstone. As he approached, the pure, untainted energy washed over him, resonating deeply with the spark of Aerion's light within his own chest. Reaching out hesitantly, his fingers brushed the crystal's smooth surface. A jolt, warm and potent, surged through him, momentarily flaring his own inner light brighter. The Heartstone responded, its steady pulse quickening, its white light intensifying, bathing the chamber in brighter illumination. Lyra, meanwhile, moved among the silent dwarven golems. They were masterpieces of engineering and enchantment, far beyond any construct she had ever imagined. Tracing the complex runes etched into their chassis, she could feel intricate webs of dormant magic, control sequences of staggering complexity, and reservoirs of raw power waiting for a command signal. They were weapons, guardians, perhaps even laborers, poised in slumber. Elara, true to her nature, scouted the cavern's periphery, discovering alcoves and side chambers set into the walls. Some were clearly armories holding racks of ancient axes, hammers, and crossbows, miraculously preserved and still sharp. Others were workshops. In one, hidden beneath rubble probably dislodged when the doors first opened, she found a series of rolled metal tubes, schematics, not just for the forge layout, but detailed plans for runic weaponry and golem components. Thrain had immediately gone to the raised dais near the Heartstone. Inset crystals, strange levers made of unfamiliar alloys, and panels covered in dormant runic displays marked it as the forge's control center. He ran his hands over the cold surfaces, consulting his texts, his brow furrowed in intense concentration. "Incredible," he murmured. "The power matrix connects directly to the Heartstone, but the activation sequences are incredibly complex, tiered. Primary power, auxiliary functions, golem command. It would take years to decipher fully, and it seems to require the Heartstone's full cooperation." Their exploration was punctuated by the intensifying assault on the doors. Crack Thum. A heavier impact reverberated through the chamber. Outside, Gor'koth snarled in frustration. Brute force from his warriors and battering rams barely scratched the ancient bronze. He ordered his shadow weavers forward. They began chanting, hurling bolts of corrosive shadow magic at the glowing silver runes. The wards flared, absorbing or deflecting the dark energy. But under the sustained magical barrage, the silver light began to flicker intermittently. Gor'koth grinned savagely. The wards were strong, but perhaps not eternal. Deep within the mountain, the corrupted Khazak-Ur stirred. The flare of power from the Heartstone, amplified by Borin's touch, acted like a beacon in the encroaching darkness. It couldn't sense the nature of the light clearly, only its purity and growing intensity, an affront to the shadow that now controlled it. Its cold, blue-white gaze turned, and with ponderous, deliberate movements that sent tremors through the surrounding rock, it began to shift its immense form, or rather extend its shadowy influence more concertedly towards the source of the light, towards the forge's shielded location. The survivors inside felt the tremors change. No longer chaotic rage, but something more focused, more directed at them. Thrain called the others to the control pedestal. "The enemy attacks the wards, and," he added grimly, gesturing towards the floor as a tremor shook the chamber, "Khazak-Ur comes, or at least reaches for us." He summarized his findings. "Activating the forge might grant us the power to defend ourselves, awaken the guardians, energize the defenses, perhaps even forge new weapons using Elara's schematics." He pointed towards the Heartstone. "But it requires immense power, drawn directly from the Heartstone." The texts warn of costs, unforeseen consequences. A sentient guidance might be needed to prevent disaster. And frankly, I only understand the most basic initiation sequences. Brock slammed a gauntleted fist into his palm. "Costs? Consequences? What choice do we have? We awaken it. Let dwarven power answer these invaders." Kaelen held up a hand. "Caution, Brock. We don't know what costs means. We awaken this power blindly. We could destroy ourselves or unleash something worse." Lyra shivered. "The magic in those golems. It feels immense, ancient. Waking them might not be simple." Borin looked towards the Heartstone, feeling its pure potential warring with Thrain's warnings. The decision weighed heavily, but the rhythmic pounding on the doors, growing stronger, louder, punctuated by the shriek of dark magic impacting the wards, forced their hand. "We try," Kaelen said, his voice quiet but firm. "We awaken what we can, carefully. Thrain, the initial sequence. Borin, be ready to channel your light into the Heartstone. Perhaps that can provide the guidance Thrain mentioned. Lyra, monitor the energy flows. Try to stabilize anything that feels uncontrolled. Everyone else, brace yourselves." They gathered around the pedestal, the Heartstone pulsing before them like a captive star. Thrain placed his hands on specific crystals. Borin gripped his hammer, focusing his inner light. Lyra reached out with her senses, and Kaelen drew his sword, uncertainty warring with resolve on his face. With a deep breath, Thrain spoke the first command word in Old Dwarven, his voice echoing in the vast chamber, and pulled a heavy, cold lever. The heart of the forge stirs. As the companions attempt to awaken ancient power, the enemy hammers at their gates, and the corrupted warden draws ever closer. Will the forge grant them the salvation they seek, or unleash a new nightmare? Teaser for episode 13. Quick cuts. Runes lighting up across the forge floor, energy arcing between machines. The eyes of a nearby golem flicker with blue light. Borin struggling as immense energy flows through him from the Heartstone. Outside, the bronze doors begin to glow red-hot under magical assault. Khazak-Ur's shadowy tendrils physically breach the rock near the forge chamber. Next time on Echoes of Eredor, power and peril. The forge awakens, but control is uncertain. New allies may rise as old guardians stir, but the cost of power becomes terrifyingly clear, and the enemy finds new ways to breach their sanctuary. What power will the forge unleash? Click to watch episode 13 and subscribe to Echoes of Eredor.